welcome to Seeking Alpha Interviews. I'm Jane King at the NASDAQ market site in Times Square. And with me today, Brett Jensen, the founder of Biotech Forum, also a Seeking Alpha contributor. So welcome, Brett.
Oh, thank you, Jane. Nice to be up here.
Yes.
Nice to be a little cool coming up from Miami.
I know. Well, Miami sounds really good right now.
Oh, yeah.
Well, let's talk about biotech because that is your area of expertise. And let's just start with a general overview of the industry. It was a tough year, really, until the election, and then things totally changed.
It really was, and it's actually been about a tough year and a half. Last time biotech peak was early in the summer of 2015. You basically had a huge bear market, got a little better up to the election, but it's been in a trading range. And even with the rally after the election, we're about 30% under the last peak in the market. Obviously, the political environment has turned much more positive than anyone thought a month ago, and that's why you had the biggest one-week rally in biotech post-election since, I think, 2000.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the election. So we've got a new administration, a Republican Congress, and is that seen as pro-biotech or just kind of stay out of the way and let the biotech companies do?
I would say more stay out of the way. I think if you would have took a poll a month ago and you would have put election sweep, 90% of people would have said, well, that's going to be the Democrats. So there's a lot of fear that, you know, the more progressive voices like Sanders and Warren were going to push a lot of legislation if they had control of the Senate. That could be very harmful to both pharma and biotech, and that's why you've had a huge relief rally since then.
Yeah. Okay, so there are lots of new technologies and just really interesting research going on in this industry. There's immunotherapy, CAR T, the cancer cocktails. What's your opinion of all those? Which ones have promise? Where do they stand?
Well, they all have promise. I think as an investor, it's important not to go ahead and chase fads because, you know, 10 years ago, we would have been talking about stem cells. You know, you had all these great companies that came public, you know, like stem cell, STEM, went all the way up to $65 a share at one time. It was probably the biggest of them, and not much came from them. There were some improvements, but there wasn't the panacea.
Was it revolutionary?
Right, and you saw the same thing in the so-called immunotherapy or CAR T stocks, where in the spring of 2014, we had 500–600% returns, and they've come back to earth. One of the leading ones today, Juno Therapeutics, is down like 25% because their latest or key trial got stopped again. So I think it's very important to go ahead and keep measure. You want to go ahead and be diversified across the different spaces, different focus areas, whether it's, you know, some of the stuff that's trying to cure Alzheimer's, which unfortunately to this point has not worked out, with Lilly being the latest of a long line.
It's a huge disappointment.
Yeah, from a societal point of view as well, an investing point of view. I think it is important not only to find good companies within different disease areas, but don't focus all your holdings on one key area.
Okay.
You know, and you can find, like Celgene is a perfect example. If you really want to invest across some of the newer technologies, in addition to their own business, they're basically a venture capitalist to the entire biotech space. They have at least a half dozen collaboration deals in each of about 7 different disease areas. So anything that's going to happen of significance over the next 5 years, Celgene is probably going to have a piece of it, and people want kind of to go ahead and have like almost a venture capital play on that, where they can diversify. That'd be one stock that I would recommend.
Well, that's interesting because I was just going to ask, how do you know when something is an emerging technology, like whatever, immunotherapy, that can really change the world? At what point do you know, or at what point is it then just research that may prove to be nothing? How do you determine that?
Well, you basically, you really want to go ahead and look from a more portfolio diversification thing. Because if we knew exactly how trials were going to work out, you know, we wouldn't have these high profile blow-ups. Even if a compound gets through phase 1 development, there's only a 1 in 8 chance they'll actually end up towards approval. It's a very costly, very hard endeavor. It's one of the most complex parts of the economy and the market. So diversification is the key. Obviously, you want to go ahead and have promising plays in a lot of different areas, and you have to have the mindset, if you're going to invest in the development space, that for every home run, you're going to have a couple of strikeouts, but that occasional grand slam is going to make up for that as far as performance. So I always look at it from more of a portfolio allocation point of view, because I could name a dozen companies right now that have amazing, intriguing pipelines. And guess what? If I come back here 2 years from now, probably 4 of those who have blown up and probably won't be listed. There'll be a couple that will be bought out. There'll be a couple that will be stable, and there'll be 1 or 2 home runs. I wish I knew which of those 12.
Don't we all?
Because then I wouldn't
right?
have to invest in another 11. But
exactly.
that's just the way biotech is.
Now you mentioned Alzheimer's, so that's kind of the holy grail, it seems like. There's been hardly anything that has helped with that disease, and it's a huge societal impact, financial impact, of course, families devastated by it. What do you see on the horizon with Alzheimer's and dementia?
It really is probably one of the toughest spaces in biotech. Everyone wants the holy grail, as you said, and we're spending tens of billions of dollars trying to develop. I mean, it's a huge market and it's a huge societal benefit. But it's been a black hole of research to this day. I mean, you saw Eli Lilly blow up this morning. Biogen is going down because they have a similar approach with their late-stage Alzheimer's candidate. You know, I hope it gets solved. I mean, obviously, right now there's a little company. I think it's AXVL, and they're the next hope in for Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
But it's just it's a moonshot.
Yeah.
And if you go into investing, just realize it's a moonshot.
What about any buyout candidates that you see?
There's going to be one of the things the election did was bring clarity, and you know, you have pharma and drug giants and biotech giants that have a huge amount of cash on the balance sheet, and especially if they do the tax holiday and they can repatriate some of the overseas holdings. So you're going to see a pickup in the M&A space. Plus, you have a more lenient regulatory environment as far as mergers. So I think that what I would watch, because if you have M&A pickup, the biotech sector that'll probably trigger the next stage of the rally. So if you have names like BioMarin, which is a orphan disease company that's a good-sized mid-cap, or Insight, that's probably a $20 billion company and probably will take $30 billion to buy them out. If they go, that'll probably be the next stage of the biotech rally. I like a company called Acadia Pharmaceuticals. They just had the first drug approved to treat the psychosis that are found in about 40% of the Parkinson's disease. They're starting to roll out good initial sales. They're also testing the same drug for some of the same symptoms in Alzheimer's, which I have more hope for in that than the cure for Alzheimer's, unfortunately, and schizophrenia. It's probably $1 billion drug eventually, just for the indication they have. Obviously, they have success in the trials. It'll be a much bigger drug. I would like them to be bought out by Biogen, because Biogen is spinning off their hemophilia business next year. That should be worth $5 to $7 billion, and that's almost exactly what Acadia will probably cost with a premium. And Biogen's already stated that they want to go ahead and expand their footprint in neurology. So that's one of my favorite buyout targets among the mid caps right now.
Okay, thank you so much, Brett, for sharing your insights on the biotech industry. Great to have you with us today, and hope to talk to you again.
Absolutely.
And
thank you for having me.
you as well for joining us on Seeking Alpha Interviews. I'm Jane King at the NASDAQ Market Site. Have a great day.